we are back for the Q&A. And for the Q&A, we have Joel here, who is holding, for whatever reason, a Chris knife. Just make sure, like, the dangerous, Joel and weapons is dangerous. Anyway, and we also have Leo back to help us with answering the Q&A questions. As mentioned, we also do a raffle during this section. So, while I see the wizard behind the scenes preparing this, you'll be able to type exclamation mark "awoo" into the chat. For those of you, for those of you who know, for those of you in the beta, they will know. Also, a reminder that it's unfortunately only on Twitch because our YouTube bot is just not cooperating right now. Apologies for that. We'll definitely make sure that we'll do future raffles for both YouTube and Twitch. Yes, exclamation mark, awoo. Do you want to tell the story about that, Joel, by the way?
I mean, should I? Or is it like an intimate story of me and the players in the beta?
It's just, in the beta, we had an improvised, let's call it improvised voice line that was not finalized. And
it was very well acted.
Very well acted.
And it
was an Atreides, right?
It was an Atreides exhorting her men to do better. And come on, Atreides. Atreides. Awoo.
Atreides.
Awoo.
Awoo.
It was
inspiring, right?
It was inspiring.
Super inspiring.
And
Super
it became a meme. And now it's like an inside joke.
Very high energy too. Like you just that one is single-handedly the reason I'm going Harkonnen and Atreides, by the way.
Nice.
You've had enough, huh?
No, I'm lying.
We've driven you away with our honourable ways.
No, it's the faction things, quite honestly. Anyway.
You just like bold men. I get it.
Sorry, Joel. We give a shit. Okay, anyway, exclamation, woo. But let's start with the Q&A and get the first question here. We have Danaus Matros. I'm always awesome with reading out usernames. Will it be possible to mix and match the build sets of both Atreides and Harkonnens, or are we restricted to only one?
Thank you for the Chris knife of speech.
The Chris knife of answering questions.
Yes.
Questions.
So, yes, you can, but it'll be a bit easier to get the first one of those, and then you'll have to do a bit more work in order to secure both.
Jump through some hoops because no one likes to be betrayed.
But you can build with both together.
Yes,
The pieces are standardized, so they will work together for the most part. There is a couple of unique pieces.
Exactly, but should work good.
Yeah, it's going to look amazing.
I mean, I think we've seen actually someone mix the building sets in the building contest.
I think the winning one did.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. I think it was C.
You will, however, be a pariah and an abomination to both factions.
Yeah.
If you choose to use their building sets to create a single building.
Not if you're really good, Joel.
Or if you're a Bene Gesserit and you're trying to get them together, as the law would indicate.
Right.
Anyway, let's go to the next question. Subdacius is asking, will there be faction-specific chat so you can coordinate Landsraad strategies without giving away secrets to the enemy? Good question.
It's also a Leo question.
Well, there is no faction-specific chat, but we do have a guild chat, so you can coordinate on a guild level, and that should be helpful to coordinate these type of activities. And it should be possible to also use the area-based chat we have in the region to coordinate with other players nearby to set up some scheming.
And you can also listen in if people are stupid enough to use the voice proximity to talk to each other about plans.
Sneak up to their bases.
That happened to some of the streamers that we had going live a few days ago. It was actually really funny. I was listening to, I think it was like French streamers and like English streamers that were listening to French streamers. It was actually kind of funny. Anyway, let's go to
someone's going to punch me for this, but were they coordinating their surrender? Or was it just... No? Okay.
I don't know.
Never mind.
Don't remember. All right. Let's go to the next question. Mandem007 is asking, can certain base equipment be turned off from power drain when you're away from the game to preserve the power drain?
So the way this works is that you need to have a higher level of production than your current use, right? And that allows your shield to stay up. So what you can do is turn off some machines to lower your use, and then you can also turn off some generators to not spend as much energy, right? But there's still a limit to how much fuel you can have stored in the generators, right? So it's not indefinite, but it does make it a lot cheaper for it to last longer.
Yeah, so basically just have the fuel there to power your sub-thief, so your base is protected, which is kind of the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like it's a very simple calculation. One fuel cell lasts 1 hour in a base generator. So it's very easy to have enough fuel to figure out how many hours you have left based on like how much fuel do you have.
I think the sub-thief even tells you now as well.
Yeah,
like you see how
there
much
are timers
days.
and everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we saw that earlier.
But you can turn off, like it doesn't matter that much if you're not above the power usage of the generator. So if the generator makes 75 units of power and you're using 25, 30, 35, 40, whatever, and then you turn off all the things that are using up to 35 or 45, it won't change the rate at which the generator generates power, so it doesn't matter that much to turn them off.
Yeah.
It only matters to turn them off if you're starting to go above what the generator can handle, right? So but as Leo says, the base rate, one fuel cell per hour, and then you can stack up enough. I think it's 3 weeks of power right now.
Yeah, or perhaps even longer with the biggest one.
Yep. So it's quite a lot of power that you can. So never fear. We've thought about people who need to go away for a few weeks or whatever and have holidays and things like that.
Just go on holidays for like a half a year or so, basically.
Just get a friend to check in on your base for you if you've got to be away for too long.
Yeah. Boris8489 is asking, would love to know what kind of system is in place to prevent making this always one-side winning.
Sure.
We didn't expect that question at all.
Maybe. We have a couple of systems, one of which I'm definitely not going to talk about because I don't think I should.
No.
And because also then I know people will start trying to game it, and I really dislike it when people do that. So I'll not talk about that one.
The little devil on your shoulder just telling
however, there is a new faction that we will add to the game sometime during post-launch, and that faction's job will be to make sure that the Landsraad remains balanced. And there'll be a whole set of different mechanics coming into the game around that third faction. And that's all I'm going to say for now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's not such a, I think, onerous task for people to be able to keep this fairly even if the population dips in a particular direction, right? If you end up with like, a lot more Harkonnen, then you end up with a lot more Atreides on the same world. Shouldn't be the case, but if that happens, it's still completely possible for the Atreides to participate and make changes in the Landsraad. So it should work out. That's basically, but I'm not going to talk about the detailed mechanics behind how that works.
No. We can ask YouTube comments to comment below what they think, what kind of faction we're introducing next.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, let's do that. Just comment on what you think or what you want us to add. Doesn't mean we can add it, but it's still interesting to hear what your thoughts are. Blind shooter zombies. What a fantastic username. How often do you have to pay tax?
Yep. So the way this works is that you'll need to pay tax every 2 weeks. That's a cycle. And to expand on that a little bit more, then if you don't pay the tax at that point, then your taxes will be overdue. But your base shields won't actually be turned off until you forget to pay for another week after that. So you have quite a bit, or another 2 weeks after that. So you have quite a bit of time to pay.
You get a red letter saying "pay now or else."
Pretty much.
Yeah.
like low-level soda cars coming to your house and like knocking on the door.
Like my university student days.
About time.
I don't have to pay this yet. It's fine. It's only the second overdue
A
bill.
third until you get the third overdue
That's how it is.
message. Yeah, exactly. Just
First one is just a suggestion, right?
So Choker DXNK. Apologies if I butcher your username. I'm not doing it on purpose, I swear. If someone buys my blueprint, is it a one-time sell and I'll have to list it again?
Yes. So one tool is one use. So you'll have to create the replication process again, right? And then you'll be able to sell it. So this way we ensure that once you've sold your design, it's not out there forever. So you can continuously supply it.
Yeah, it's a consumable, essentially, right? So you sell the blueprint. We're talking about base blueprints, I'm assuming, rather than schematics.
I think so
for
too.
items.
Yeah.
So if you sell your base blueprint, people can consume it once, and that's it, right? They can't consume it infinite times. So if you make cool creations, Yeah, it's like the ultimate form of copyright thanks to the Imperium.
Yeah, and I can also add that you can't just go up to a random base you find and copy the design, right? You have to have access to the base to be able to do this. High-level access.
Yes, permissions.
And you also have to copy your base again to sell it to. I'm not really sure which of the things they were asking here about, but yeah, just to cover all our bases here. Ha! No pun intended. Yeah. No, I meant the base. Never mind. They didn't get it. It's the highliner joke from last time. Yeah. Reaper to, is that a K? Yeah, 2K7. What is the maximum number of bases you can have? 3.
So you have different types of sub-thief consoles, right? And you have the basic sub-thief console, you have the advanced sub-thief console, and together, however you split that up, you have a cap of 3 that you can own. You can then have a permission to access any number of other sub-thief consoles or bases, right? But that's just what you are restricted to. And then we also have a further restriction on the number of basic sub-thief consoles at 2.
We haven't actually talked about this in the building part, but you can easily abandon a base via the map, for example. So if you're like, all of a sudden, no, I don't need that like 4x4 box anymore that I made at the very beginning of the game. Yeah, it's actually part of the tutorization as well.
It's encouraged to get rid of old bases because this is one of the things that I it's one of the problems that like comes with the persistence of a game like this, right? Like in an MMO, a traditional MMO like World of Warcraft, it's not like you build a base in the starter zone and leave it there for a week, right? Because imagine how many bases would end up stacking up, and that's kind of how our game does work, is like that. So you can end up with a lot of bases. So the opening tutorial encourages you to get rid of your old base, your first base, and then you move further and further out into the world, and we're asking you to create bigger bases. So I will say, just do your fellow starters a favor when the game launches and clean up your old bases, people. Yes. Don't leave trash on Arrakis.
Yes, clean up after yourself. All right. Yep. Mandem007, again with a question. Can a guild be a party of one individual or at least 2 players? Good question.
Yeah, there's no minimum requirement there, so that works fine.
Yes, and it enables you to be part of the Landsraad if you want to do that as a single player.
And then there's upper cap as well at 32.
Yeah.
In a guild. But yeah, they can be very small as well.
Yep.
Lenoli. I am sorry, the screen is kind of so weirdly angled for me.
Lionart.
Lionart. Oh, Lionart, yes. If I'm building vertically on a cliffside, will the cliff work as a wall and keep sandstorm damage out, or I need to add another wall along the cliff to close off the structure? That's a good question too.
So for that one, yes, you will need to add another wall. And it depends on certain complicated factors depending on the distance to this opening and how close you are to the other surrounding walls and roofs. But in essence, yes, to be safe, you need to do that. And the reason we're doing it this way is to make sure that bases and their contents eventually do decay away if they are in fact abandoned, right? So we don't have bases staying around permanently, taking up space.
I mean, while we don't expect anybody to quit this video game over time,
yeah.
While we expect 100% of our players to keep playing forever, there may be some that leave, and then we're going to have something like a decay system in place. So yeah, that's why we have to do this.
Yeah. Or you could just get tired of base and move on, right? We need it to be removed in that case.
Yeah. Sarah Nielsen is asking, how do you set access level towards strangers to your building?
Yeah, so if it's if the question is if you can give access to someone you know, then you can search for their name and add them that way. And you can also interact with their character in the world, give them access that way. If you have them on your friends list already, imported through Steam, for example, then you can also go through the social system menus we have and edit permissions for someone in bulk. Now, it could also be that the question is if you want to make your base or parts of your base public, right?
I think that was the question. Yeah, exactly.
And what you can do then is go to individual objects on the base, like doors or machines and whatnot, and lower its access level requirement to public. And then anyone will be able to access it.
And we've seen some really cool examples of this in the beta, where people, for example, have put out a little bit of a drink of water
So nice.
for other players, or a little piece of shade, or somewhere for them to shelter for the sandstorms, and they make a little area of their base. It's just a little bit
Super
public,
nice.
so people passing by have somewhere to stay.
Like
it's
a
very
little-
nice.
Yeah.
To see.
A
that's
water
good.
station with like different water canister, like where people can get water and stuff. So super nice.
We saw the public toilet earlier as well,
No,
right?
that's
That could be
true.
a good one.
That is true. Yes.
Generous to strangers.
Yeah. Empty your still suits. Michael is asking, can you move the whole base, or you need to build it all over again?
You can copy the design to a Solido replicator, right? And then you don't have to come up with something new on the new location, but yeah, you do need to build it again at the new location and carry whatever items you want at that place manually. But to help you with that, you have vehicles as well, right? And vehicles can have quite sizable storage. So that makes the process a whole lot less inconvenient.
And
Yeah,
those
and
are
we're
quick
very-
deploys, right? Which is super nice with vehicles specifically.
Yeah, the quick. Yeah, and we're also very generous with the building costs in this game. We're not.
Yes.
We're not. We like when people make cool buildings, so we're not trying to make it a super grindy, like, oh, you have to spend 20 hours getting enough materials just to build the base, right? It's actually, I think, relatively fast compared to the standards of the genre.
Yeah.
I fully agree. I was actually I was going to comment on that, because what I generally do is I don't care about granite, for example, or the base or the material for the base. I generally might just dismantle the actual refineries or so, just so I can get them up really fast again, or immediately, especially the power generator early on. And anything else, you can just a few minutes and you have the material again. Which is super nice.
We wanted to find that sweet spot where it still feels like you worked to earn that base, right? So it isn't so cheap that it feels valueless, right?
Yeah.
You still have to work for it, but it's not so much that it becomes painful to gather the materials. So I think we've found that sweet spot.
You don't spend hours refining just to make a single wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I feel like if you have one of those huge bases that we've seen, then you're basically established yourself, and you're most likely not going to move next week again, right? So there's that as well. So yeah. All right. Dragon D?
Dragon die.
Dragon die. Can you link friends' bases together?
Well, you can place bases pretty close together. You can't actually link them together, right? I think one way you could do something.
Permissions, maybe? No, you couldn't cross the border, but you can still make permissions. So it's
Yeah,
quite easy to be-
you can have them next to each other and have permissions to cross into the one another. Now, what you could probably do, if you really wanted to have separate buildings, is to expand your land and then build two separate buildings. That might work.
Also, you could have because you can't put them so close next to each other, you can just have doors that are so close that you can just go from one to the other. That's not
Otherwise,
working.
we'd be in the
There-
griefing territory. We have to, because otherwise people could surround your land claim, right? So we have to give people a little space to
We
work.
have a
See,
buffer
that's
zone
why
there.
they're designers and I'm not.
Sadly, we have these lovely people on the beta who build really nice things for other players, and then occasionally we see people in the beta doing things that are
that
quite
are
nasty. And then but the good thing
Yes.
about betas is we then get to make design allowances for these kind of behaviors, which is great.
Exactly. We will learn and make sure that it's a bit harder to do in the future.
Yes.
Scarsy, can you build into rock, like make a cave and an underground base?
Yeah, so what you can do is, there are some formations where this makes sense, right? So you can build around a cave entrance or underneath a large overhang, or things like that, right? And you also have quite a lot of allowance for building so that your walls stick into rock and things like that, right? So,
but yeah, we
works quite
don't
well.
allow you, like most of the cave spaces in the world are actually spaces where NPCs live,
yeah.
right? And so you can't build over the top of NPC camps.
Yeah, there are very
points
few
of
where
interest.
it's actually caves that you can do that.
Yes.
So.
But you can build under rock structures and things to make,
You can't actually dig into the terrain to do it.
No.
Igor Litvinovic is asking, is there a solution for gamers who go on vacation and don't want to lose their entire base home but don't have access to the game? I think that goes into the question that we had earlier, but we can go over that.
I mean, we mentioned it, right? You can basically have fuel for around, I think you can have basically 3 weeks, then it's a week before everything will sort of start to decay.
Yeah.
So you have about a month, but I think that's about the limit we can do.
Yeah.
Right? Because with taxation as well, it's around a month.
Yes.
The thing is, I don't think people should expect more because we can't really guarantee people are going to be keeping playing the game if they're gone from the game for a month. But what you can do, as mentioned sort of before, is you can get someone else to just fuel your base for you, give them temporary permission if you trust someone. The other thing you can do is you can take a snapshot of your base as a blueprint, and you can store all of these items in the bank, which is by the exchange we talked about earlier. So there's a bank where you can put things. So you can put your best items away, leave the game for a year. You won't have your base when you come back, but you'll still have the blueprints for that base, and you can place it out and start from basically where you were, keeping your stuff at the tier that you were at. And the character will be persistent, just like in any sort of online multiplayer game, any kind of MMO. Your character will still be level 70 or whatever. So if you go for a long vacation and go away from the game for a long time with a little bit of preparation, you can come back and be on your feet again pretty quickly. But if you want to go away for more than 4 weeks, yeah, it's going to be hard for us to make sure that everything stays without any decay. And obviously that would lead to servers becoming really cluttered as well. So we have to be, we have to make sure that the game continues to flow for everyone else as well.
Yeah, and the bank, as mentioned, it does fit quite a lot of items, right? And you can also bank your Solari, your currency in there, which also further allows you to push ahead once you come back. So you don't have to struggle through the progression as you normally would.
Exactly.